Hello and welcome back to Education Technology Professionals. My name is Mr. Customiter. If you guys are watching this, hopefully you guys have watched the game building series part 1, where we go over how to create the environments and the characters of a racing game built in the Python Turtle library. Today we're going to continue building that game. We have all of our characters and our environment built. Today we're going to start applying some of the logic to the game. And we're going to learn what if-then statements are and how those are used to build games and build different programs. So first things first, let's go ahead and open up the game that we had started working on last time. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and head over to my Python window. Let me go to my Windows panel, type in Python IDLE, and open this. Awesome. And then I'm going to go to File, Open. And mine was racing lesson. Yours might be saved to something differently, but go ahead and find this file. This is where we left off last time. If I go and run this, you will see that we have our stars, our turtle, and our finish line. What we're going to do today, we're going to learn how to say if-then statements. And we're going to say if these turtles pass this point, then declare one of them the winner. That's kind of how an if-then statement goes. It's what's called a conditional statement. So let's go ahead and try one of those conditional statements. In this case, let's simplify it a little bit. We're going to say Bob, go forward 200. Now, when I run this, everything should go just as it did before, except now Bob should go forward 200 at the very end. We have our stars, and then Bob went forward 200. Now what we're going to say, if Bob passes this point, then say hello. So we're going to make Bob say hello when he passes this point. And right now, Bob is at negative 250, negative 220. So let's have that line that set the threshold for saying hello. Let's have that be at negative 150. So we're going to say if Bob pass, and this stands for if Bob's position, and we're going to put our parentheses. We're going to say if Bob's position, I forgot my period here, it's a function. If Bob dot pass is greater than or equal to, and for the greater than sign, I just did shift and then the period, and that's our greater than sign. So if Bob position greater than or equal to, parentheses, I'm going to say negative 150, comma, negative 20. Now, where are these numbers coming from? So the negative 150, I just want Bob to go past that point, and he already went forward 200 from negative 250. So he's already at a past 150, so that makes sense. And then the negative 20 here, I picked this number because that's where he is on the y-axis. Okay, so if Bob's position is greater than this number, I'm going to give it my colon. I'm going to say then Bob dot write hello. So my hello was in a script there, so I have my quotations around it, and then I close my parentheses. Okay, so if Bob's position is greater than this number, then write hello. Let's see if that works. We're going to go to run module, okay. So we see our stars. Awesome. So we see that Bob, if we zoom in here, we see that Bob has written hello right there. Amazing. So let's make sure that our conditional statement's working. If he doesn't pass the 150 threshold, let's say Bob only goes forward 50. If he only goes forward 50, then the computer will not register him going past that threshold, so it didn't write hello. So that means that our if statement is working. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the Bob forward part, and now I'm going to actually start to think about where our finish line is. So when we're thinking about where our finish line is, we're gonna have to go back over to Jill. And we see that Jill had created the finish line at 300, 100. And Bob and Ted are at negative 250. So the difference between negative 250 and 300 is 550. So they're over here at negative 250. Here's our turtles. And our finish line is over here at 300. That means that 0 is going to be almost someplace in between. So here might be 0. And our turtles need to go a total distance of about 500 to get to the end of the finish line. So what we're going to do, we're going to say if Bob's position is greater than 300, because that's where Jill started the finish line, then Bob wins. And just how we did with Jill when we were writing our title, we can change the font if we put a comma and then write font equals, and then we can give it our fonts. Arial is what we used last time, and that's a common one. So say Arial, comma, size 40. Let's actually make it size 30. Arial, size 30, italic. And then we can go ahead and close these parentheses here. And then the last comma is going to be a line, and we're going to say equals, in script again, center. Awesome. Close up those parentheses. Awesome. So if Bob's position is this, then write Bob equals winner. And I also had it Bob change the color. I just made him slightly more pink so you could tell that he was pronounced the winner. After you guys write this, we're actually going to write break. And this is our way of breaking the loop. So after he runs through this, we'll see he's at the finish line, and then we can stop. We can declare the winner. After we write break, we're going to go ahead and press enter, and then we're going to write elif. This stands for else if, but it's elif here. So then we're going to say elif Ted position. So now we're saying if Bob's position, do this. If Ted's position, do this. So let's see. If Ted's position is greater than or equal to 320, 320, then, and we're going to take the same thing here. I'm going to just copy this and then paste that right here. And then instead of Bob, I'm going to replace everything with Ted. So Ted wins. And then I'm actually going to do light blue here. Okay. So now let's see if this works. Let's have Bob.goForward 500. Oh, I guess 550. Let's see if this works. If this statement is correct, Bob should then write Bob wins in a pink text. Fingers crossed. Oh, okay, so we have an error here. Okay, so I see why this doesn't work now. If you guys look closely, I had put this quotation outside of the parenthesis. I'm going to fix that. I need to have the parenthesis and then the script on the inside. And while we're fixing stuff, there's actually one more thing I'd like to fix. I'm having Bob write something and then change the color. I actually want him to change the color and then write something. That way he writes it in the color that I want him to change it to. So I'm going to go ahead and change that for both Bob and Ted. Okay, so now all of that looks better. Let me add my closing parentheses. Okay, so let's make sure this all looks good. Looks good to me. So we have Bob going forward 550. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and go run module. Awesome. So we have Bob go forward just past the threshold, and it says Bob wins. So our script is working perfectly. Now that we've set up the finish line and we know that Bob or Ted will be declared the winner when they pass that line, let's talk about how we actually want them to move. So normally we tell Bob and Ted how far to move. We say go forward 100 pixels. But in this case, we want them to race. For them to race, we need it to be kind of random. So we're actually going to use the random integer number generator again. We had used this last time to have the turtle Jill generate stars. Now we're going to use it to tell Bob and Ted to go forward 1 through 6 pixels and then repeat that over and over again. It's kind of like having Bob and Ted roll dice really quickly to see who goes forward. So let's go to the Python window so I can show you guys exactly what I mean. We're going to go over to our Python window. And so what we're going to have Ted and Bob do now, here's Ted and here's Bob. We're going to have them go forward 1 through 6 pixels. So he's going to go forward 1 or 6. Let's say that Bob goes forward 2, but Ted goes forward 6. Then we're going to loop that over and over again. So Bob will go forward some more, and Ted will go forward some more, and eventually they'll end up racing in a random manner. And then whoever gets to the finish line will be declared the winner. So what this is going to look like, we're going to say bob.forward rand int, stands for random integer. And then we're going to put another parentheses, and we're going to say 1 through 6. And we're going to say ted.forward rand int 1 through 6 as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Okay, so I had actually made a mistake where I forgot one of my parentheses here. In all of these functions and stuff, you want an even amount of parentheses. If there's an odd amount, like this, then it will not work. But now I have the correct amount of parentheses, so let's see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and run this module. We have our stars, and then we have them go forward a very small amount, but you can't see it, but they went forward randomly an amount between 1 and 6. Okay, so now we have our if-then statement, and we have them moving forward randomly. The last thing that we're going to do before we put all of this inside of the loop is we're actually going to go back inside our if-then, and we're going to say, if this is true, then break. Or if this is true, then break. And the reason that we're doing this, so if Bob is at this position, it's going to write Bob wins. We want it to just stop after that. Or if Ted is in this position and he wins, we want it to stop. If we put all of this inside of a loop and we don't put break, then it's going to go ahead and continue going forward after one of them has already been declared the winner. So we want to put break after if and elif. Then what we're going to do, we're actually going to take all of this and we're going to cut this out. And we're going to put it all inside of our for loop. We're going to say for x in range. Let's do 200. For x in range 200 colon, and then we're going to paste our stuff right here. So I'm going to do Control V. Now the indentations are all messed up, so we're going to have to go ahead and fix those indentations. We see this first one's indented, that's perfect, but we need this to be indented inside of the if statement. So we want this to be indented as well, and these to be inside of that elif block. And then lastly, we want Ted and Bob to be there. Okay, so if this is correct, the computer is going to check to see if Bob or Ted is in these positions. If they're not in these positions, they're going to go forward. If they are in these positions, they're going to break and they're going to do either the right Bob or the right Ted. So that's what it should do. let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to go over to run and run module. Okay. So we have Bob and Ted going forward, random amount, and you can see they race to the finish line. Amazing. So they actually went and did their race. The last thing that I'd like to show you guys how to do is how to do the spinning thing. If you guys look at the game that I'd created, the turtles were spinning like they were in space. It's kind of a cool trick to make it seem like they're in space. Let's go ahead and try to do that now too. To do that, we're just going to come down here, stay inside of our loop still, and we're going to say bob.tilt. And then we're going to give a small degrees, so probably like 3 degrees. Or Ted.tilt -4 degrees. So now if I go ahead and run this, file, run, okay. Now if I go ahead and run this, you'll see that they are kind of spinning. Okay, so we have successfully built our racing game using conditional statements, if-then statements, and a lot of loops. We also learned how to use that random library. The random library has a lot of really interesting functions that if you ever need to do something randomly, it probably has something that you need. So that's how you build a game in Python in the Turtle series. We can continue doing this game building series, or we can move on to other coding projects. Let me know what you think. Other than that, I hope you all have been well, staying sane and safe. I will see you guys again next week with our video. Thanks. This has been Education Technology Professionals.